The cafe was the kind of place people like to show off in: glass walls, gold-trimmed counters, and music soft enough to make you whisper your order. It sat right on the corner of Main Street, where suits and sports cars met. And that's where it started. A simple morning that turned into something nobody forgot. The biker had rolled up just before 9. His name was Logan, leather vest, worn jeans, and a calmness that made people move out of his way without realizing why. He parked his bike near the curb, the sunlight bouncing off the chrome, and walked inside to grab a black coffee before heading out for a charity ride his club was organizing. Most people ignored him, though a few stared. He didn't look like their kind. No tie, no watch, no polished shoes. But he didn't care. He just ordered, paid, and stepped aside to wait. At the counter, a man in a three-piece suit sighed loudly. His watch cost more than Logan's entire bike. He tapped his phone, impatient. His assistant, a nervous young guy with a tablet, whispered, "Mr. Graves, your meeting's in 10 minutes. "I know," the man snapped. Maybe if they hired people who could actually make coffee on time. Before he could finish, the barista called out, "Order for Graves?" The man stepped forward, grabbed the cup without looking, and turned straight into Logan, who had stepped aside to let an older woman pass. The lid popped, and a wave of scalding coffee splashed across Logan's chest and face. The cafe froze. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Mr. Graves exploded. "Are you blind? Watch where you're going, you filthy." He didn't finish. Logan just stood there, silent, wiping his face with the back of his hand. His cheek was red from the burn, but his eyes were calm, too calm. The kind of calm that made the entire room go still. "I didn't touch you," Logan said quietly. Graves scoffed. "Of course you didn't. Typical." He raised his hand again, pointing toward Logan's vest. "What are you, one of those biker trash gangs? You think you can stand here like you belong?" Logan looked at him for a long moment, then nodded once. Not in anger, but as if making a decision. "You sure you want to finish that sentence?" Graves smirked. "What? You gonna hit me? You'll be in jail before you hit the door." That's when the cafe door opened. The rumble came first, deep, rolling, familiar. A row of motorcycles pulled up outside, one after another, until the sunlight vanished behind them. 5 men in black vests walked in, all wearing the same insignia, Iron Sun's MC. The tallest among them, a man with a scar down his jaw, scanned the room, then saw Logan. "Brother?" Logan gave a small nod. "Coffee accident." Scar looked at Graves. He threw it. Graves blinked, suddenly unsure. "Wait. It was an accident. He walked into me." Scar took a slow step forward. "Funny, because my man here doesn't spill things. You, on the other hand, look like someone who's never held anything that didn't come with a price tag." The other bikers spread out quietly, not saying a word, just standing there. A silent wall of presence that made the air heavy. Graves swallowed. You can't threaten me. Do you know who I am?" Logan finally spoke again, voice calm. "Yeah, you're a man who thinks money makes him untouchable." Graves pointed at him, his voice breaking. You don't scare me." Scar leaned closer, his tone quiet and even. "You should be scared of what you almost did." That cup could have blinded him. The barista, trembling, spoke up. "It's true. He didn't bump into you, sir. You turned too fast." All eyes went to Graves. His face paled. I didn't mean to." Logan nodded slowly. "Good. Then apologize." Graves blinked. "What?" "Say sorry." The man's lips parted, disbelief twisting his face. "You want me to apologize to you?" Logan's brothers didn't move, but the silence in the cafe turned suffocating. Every customer was watching, phones half lifted, unsure whether to record or run. Scar spoke softly. "He's asking nice. That's the difference between respect and regret. Don't make it regret." Graves' breath hitched. His assistant whispered, "Sir, maybe just apologize." The rich man's jaw clenched, but his voice cracked as he whispered, "I'm sorry." Logan tilted his head. "Didn't hear you." Graves swallowed hard, louder this time. "I'm sorry." Logan nodded once, picked up a napkin, and wiped the last of the coffee from his face. "You got more in you than you think. Keep that side." Then he turned to the barista. "Another black coffee." His tab. Graves stared, stunned. "You what?" Logan smiled faintly. "You spilled it. You buy the next one." The bikers chuckled quietly. Scar grinned. "Fair trade." As they left, the door chime jingled softly. The Iron Sons walked out as calmly as they came. engines growling back to life. The cafe remained silent for a long moment before people started breathing again. Graves stood frozen, still trembling, staring at the stained floor where the spill had dried. His assistant whispered, "You okay, sir?" He nodded weakly, but his pride was gone. "Yeah," he said softly. "I just learned something." Outside, Logan climbed back on his bike, steam rising faintly from his jacket where the burn had cooled. Scar pulled up beside him. "You good?" Logan smiled faintly. "Better than him." They rode off, engines thundering through the city streets. By noon, the story had already hit social media. Rich CEO throws hot coffee on biker, ends up apologizing in front of everyone. But for Logan and the Iron Sons, it wasn't about revenge. It was about respect, the kind money couldn't buy, and arrogance couldn't survive. And from that day on, the cafe door opened a little wider for anyone in leather. By the next morning, the video was everywhere. Someone in the cafe had recorded the entire thing. From the moment Mr. Graves spilled the coffee to the second he stammered out his apology, while a line of bikers stood behind Logan like a wall of steel. On social media, it had gone viral within hours. Headlines read, "Millionaire CEO learns a lesson in respect." "Biker burned, CEO humbled." And the most shared comment under the video simply said, "Not all heroes wear suits." At first, Logan didn't even know. He wasn't on social media. The Iron Sons didn't chase attention, they chased purpose. But that morning, as he rolled into their garage, his brothers were already grinning. "Brother," Scar called out, holding up his phone. "You're famous." Logan frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Check this out," Scar said, pressing play. The sound of the cafe filled the room. The hiss of spilled coffee, Graves' sharp voice, Logan's quiet, steady response, and then the roar of engines as the Iron Sons walked in. When the video ended, Logan just sighed. "Great. Now everyone thinks we're a circus." Scar laughed. "Nah, man. They think we're heroes. Even the comments say so. Iron Sons stand for justice. Respect the riders. We need men like this in every city." "It's crazy." Logan shook his head. "People see one moment. They don't see the rest." Scar smirked. "Maybe it's time they do." Before Logan could reply, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but picked up anyway. "Mr. Logan?" A man's voice said hesitantly. This is Robert Graves." Logan froze. "Didn't expect to hear from you." I just wanted to say thank you," Graves said quietly. His voice wasn't slick or polished this time. It was raw. "That video, it's everywhere. And I've been reading the comments. I didn't realize how I looked. My assistant quit this morning. Told me she couldn't work for someone who treated people like that." Logan didn't respond, letting the silence do its work. Graves continued, "I know an apology doesn't fix what I did, but I want to make it right. I burned you. You could have hit me, or worse, and instead you taught me something. Can I meet you?" Logan exhaled slowly. "Where?" "Your club. Wherever you are. I'll come alone." That afternoon, a black sedan pulled up to the Iron Sons garage. The men inside the shop stopped what they were doing when Graves stepped out. No suit jacket this time, no entourage, just a simple shirt and uncertain eyes. Scar looked him up and down. "You're either brave or stupid, walking in here alone." Graves smiled weakly. "Maybe both." Logan came out wiping grease from his hands. The burn on his cheek had healed into a faint mark. "You found us." "I had to," Graves said. "You didn't just embarrass me that day. You exposed me to myself. I've spent my whole life thinking power came from fear. Turns out, it comes from respect." Logan studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Respect's earned, not owned." Graves pulled out a folded piece of paper and held it out. "I know you and your brothers run charity rides, fundraisers, and community programs. I looked it up. You've raised more money for shelters and veterans than most foundations do. I want to help." Scar raised an eyebrow. "Help how?" Graves took a deep breath. "I own half the buildings in this district. I'm donating that warehouse on 5th to your cause. Turn it into whatever you want. Training center, food bank, I don't care. No rent. No strings." The garage went silent. Logan crossed his arms. "Why?" Graves looked him dead in the eye. "Because you could have humiliated me worse, but you didn't. Because I realized men like me have been building walls while you've been building bridges. And because I need to start fixing the damage I've done." Scar whistled low. "Well, I'll be damned." Logan took the paper slowly, folded it, and tucked it into his pocket. You're serious? Graves nodded. Dead serious. Logan extended his hand. Then maybe you're starting to get it. They shook, not out of forgiveness, but understanding. 3 months later, the old warehouse was reborn as the Iron Haven, a place where veterans, single mothers, and lost kids could find food, shelter, and guidance. The walls were painted black and gold, the Iron Sun's emblem mounted proudly above the door. On opening day, Logan stood beside Graves. Cameras were there again, but this time no one cared about fame. Graves handed over the keys and said, "This started with a mistake and ended with a mission." Logan smiled faintly. Funny how the road works like that. From that day forward, people didn't just see bikers when the Iron Suns rolled into town. They saw protectors. The line between grit and grace blurred, and the name Iron Haven became a symbol of second chances for everyone. And sometimes, when Logan rode past that same cafe where it all began, he'd catch Graves inside, drinking coffee quietly. No arrogance, no shouting. Just a man who'd finally learned that humility can change more than money ever could. 2 years later, the world had almost forgotten the viral clip, but not the change it sparked. What began as a spilled cup of coffee had grown into something much bigger. The Iron Haven was now the heart of the city's working-class district, a converted warehouse of steel and warmth. Its walls were covered in murals painted by local artists, engines, wings, and phrases like "respect rides on 2 wheels." It wasn't just a biker project anymore, it was a lifeline. Families came there for meals, kids for mentorship, and lost souls for a fresh start. Logan never took credit. He still wore the same vest, rode the same bike, drank the same black coffee every morning. But now, when he stopped at a light, people didn't look away, they nodded. The same society that once crossed the street to avoid him now waved when they saw the Iron Sun's patch. And Robert Graves? He didn't go back to being the man he was. He sold his company, kept just enough to live quietly, and poured the rest into Iron Haven. Every Friday, he showed up at the garage, sleeves rolled up, helping the Suns unload supplies. Sometimes he cooked. Sometimes he just listened. He didn't do it for redemption anymore. He did it because he finally understood peace. One late afternoon, as golden lights spilled through the shop windows, Logan and Graves sat outside, watching a group of kids ride refurbished bikes that the Suns had repaired for them. The laughter echoed down the street, clean, fearless, alive. Graves leaned back on the bench. "You ever think about that day?" he asked. Logan chuckled. "Every time I smell burnt coffee." Graves laughed too, but then his voice softened. "It still haunts me. How easy it is to forget people are human when you've got too much power." Logan nodded slowly. "Power's like a throttle. If you don't respect it, it throws you." Graves looked at him. "You ever regret not hitting me that day?" Logan shook his head. "Nah. The world already hits hard enough. Sometimes it needs someone to stop the swing." They sat in silence for a while, watching the kids. Then one of the younger Iron Suns ran up, a kid barely 20. "Logan, we just got word. There's a food drive happening downtown, but the supplier backed out. They're asking if we can fill the gap." Logan stood immediately. "How many families?" "About 60. He looked at Graves. "You still got those connections?" Graves grinned. "Already making a few calls." An hour later, the Iron Sun's bikes rolled out in formation, saddlebags packed with groceries, canned food, and blankets. Trucks followed behind, courtesy of Graves' old business partners. They rode into the city with their headlights cutting through the dusk, a sight that once meant fear but now meant hope. By nightfall, the street outside the downtown shelter was glowing under the hum of idling bikes. People gathered in awe as the Suns unloaded supplies, helping the volunteers set up tables and pass out food. Logan moved quietly through the crowd, handing out meals, joking with kids, making sure no one left empty-handed. As he handed a sandwich to a young woman clutching her baby, she looked at him and whispered, "You're the man from the video, aren't you?" Logan paused, then smiled. "I guess I am." She nodded tearfully. "You taught him a lesson, and people like me learned one too. Sometimes all it takes is one person staying calm when everyone else loses control." Logan's smile faded into something deeper, something proud. "That's what we ride for." When the last box was emptied, Graves joined him by the curb. "You see their faces?" he asked softly. "That's better than any boardroom applause I ever got." Logan smirked. "You're getting soft, Graves." Graves laughed. "Nah, just human." They stood there under the streetlights, the sound of engines idling like a heartbeat. Later that night, back at Iron Haven, the sons sat around a fire pit. The air smelled like smoke, metal, and victory. Scar looked over at Logan. You ever think about what comes next? Logan shrugged. The road decides that. Scar nodded. Fair. But wherever it goes, we'll ride behind you. Logan stared into the fire for a long moment. Not behind, he said finally. Beside. The flames crackled, reflecting off the badges on their vests, symbols not of rebellion anymore, but of redemption. The Iron Sons had become a movement. Cities started reaching out, asking for Iron Havens of their own. And with every new chapter, the roar of their bikes carried one unspoken message. Respect is strength. Kindness is power. Brotherhood is armor. Months later, Logan walked into that same cafe where it had all begun. The staff froze, recognizing him instantly. The new manager, young, nervous, approached. Mr. Logan, that video's still our most viewed moment online. Logan chuckled. Glad your sales went up. As he turned to leave with his coffee, Graves walked in, smiling. Back where it all started. Logan raised his cup. Just don't spill it this time. They both laughed, two men from opposite worlds, now standing on the same ground. Outside, the sound of distant motorcycles rolled through the city streets, a steady rhythm that had become the heartbeat of justice itself. And for everyone who heard it, it was a reminder. Respect doesn't need revenge. It just needs one man brave enough to stay calm while the world loses its balance. Winter crept in quietly that year, frosting the windows of Iron Haven and painting the streets silver at dawn. The cold never stopped the riders. The Iron Sons still met at sunrise, steam rising from their engines like breath from steel beasts. Inside, the smell of coffee and engine oil mixed with laughter. Logan sat at the long wooden table, flipping through papers and schedules for the next charity ride. Across from him, Graves poured coffee into metal mugs. The man had changed so completely that even the new recruits didn't believe the stories about who he used to be. He laughed easier now, drove an old pickup instead of a Bentley, and smiled at people instead of looking past them. Scar walked in, brushing snow off his jacket. Morning, boys. You're not going to believe this. Logan raised an eyebrow. If it involves you outrunning cops again, I already do. Scar grinned. Better. The mayor just called. He wants us at City Hall next week. Graves blinked. Why? Trouble. Scar shook his head, dropping an envelope on the table. They're giving us a community award. The Iron Sons, guardians of the city. The room went silent for a beat before laughter broke out. You're kidding, Logan said, half amused. Nope, Scar said, pouring himself coffee. They want you to give a speech. Logan groaned. Me? I ride bikes, not podiums. Graves chuckled. You stood down a millionaire in a cafe full of cameras. You'll do fine. Logan sighed, leaning back. All right, but I'm not wearing a tie. The following week, the city hall steps were packed. Reporters, photographers, families, even police stood in quiet respect. The Iron Sons arrived not in cars, but on their bikes, the rumble shaking the morning air. When they parked, the crowd clapped, a sound none of them had ever expected to hear. The mayor took the stage, clearing his throat. There was a time when the word biker brought fear. But these men, the Iron Sons, changed that. They've rebuilt homes, protected families, and shown us that brotherhood isn't about appearance, it's about action. He turned to Logan. Mr. Logan, would you say a few words? Logan stepped up slowly, helmet tucked under his arm. He looked out over the crowd. The faces of people who once crossed the street when they saw him coming, now standing in gratitude. He spoke simply. We're not heroes. We've made mistakes, same as anyone. But the road teaches you things money and comfort never can. Teaches you what happens when people stop helping each other. We just decided to do something about it. He paused, looking toward Graves, who smiled back proudly. Most people think power's about control, Logan continued. It's not. It's about restraint. It's about standing up for someone who can't stand for themselves. That's what we ride for. That's what this patch means. He tapped the emblem on his vest. Iron doesn't bend easy. Neither does decency. The applause that followed wasn't loud. It was steady, deep, and honest. Afterward, as the Sons prepared to ride out, a woman in the crowd approached Logan with a teenage boy beside her. Excuse me, she said softly. You don't know us, but my husband was one of the guys you helped when you opened Iron Haven. He's sober now. He's home. And my son, she looked at the boy, he wants to ride someday. The kid's eyes were bright. You think I could be a son one day? Logan smiled. You don't have to be one of us to live like one. Just ride straight, respect the road, and protect people when they need it. The boy nodded firmly, his small hand gripping Logan's calloused one. As they rode out of the city, the sky cracked open with light snow, flakes dancing in the exhaust. Logan led the way, the sons riding behind him in perfect formation. Graves followed in his truck, windows rolled down despite the cold, just to hear the engines. Halfway down the highway, Logan slowed. The others followed his gaze, a car stranded on the shoulder, smoke curling from under the hood. A woman stood beside it, waving for help. Without a word, Logan pulled over. The others did the same. In minutes, the Iron Sons were surrounding the car, one fixing the engine, another checking the tires, another offering the woman a blanket. Graves pulled up beside them, smiling. Can't even make it a mile without saving someone, huh? Logan grinned. Old habits. When the car started again, the woman's eyes filled with relief. I don't know how to thank you. Logan tipped his head toward her. Don't. Just help someone else when it's your turn. As they rode away, the woman stood by the road, watching the trail of exhaust fade into the snowy horizon. The sight of those bikes, engines thundering, lights glowing through the storm, was something she'd never forget. Later that night, back at Iron Haven, Graves raised a toast by the fire. To the sons, he said, and to every mistake that turned into a miracle. Logan lifted his mug, eyes reflecting the flames. To respect, he said softly. It's the road we never stop riding. The fire crackled, the snow fell, and somewhere beyond the city, the low rumble of engines echoed through the dark. A reminder that kindness could wear leather, redemption could ride steel, and the world still had men who believed that strength was meant to protect, not destroy.